Hi there, 8th graders. This is chapter 25, the last chapter in the religion book, The Way of Justice and Truth. I'm going to break this into 3 parts just so we can break it down a little bit more. In this video, I will be reading aloud 235 and 236 and elaborating just a little bit. Do follow along. Take a look there at that blue bar. Can you see the word? I used to have a little I don't know what I did with it. I used to have this, a little wooden Jesus, and up close you couldn't see it. But if I held it all the way across the classroom, everyone could see it. Jesus became very visible. Can you see the word above? If not, hold the book at a distance and focus on the blue. You should be able to recognize the name Jesus. With the eyes of faith, you can see Jesus in people. You can respond to them with love. You can avoid harming them. With the eyes of faith, you can also see creation as it really is. Everything on earth glorifies God and shows what God is like. Everything is a gift from God to be cared for and used according to God's plan. Through honest work, we participate in God's work of creation. Correct vision is what the 7th and 10th commandments are all about. They call for respect. The word respect comes from a word that means to look at. The 7th commandment, you shall not steal, calls us to respect others by looking at their possessions as gifts from God, by not taking what rightfully belongs to them. The 10th commandment, you shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor, tells us not even to desire what belongs to others. Both commandments protect the ownership and use of private property. We will obey these commandments if we see things and people the way God does. Respect is so important. It's vital. It's crucial. We have to respect others. We have to respect their things. And then in return, we hope that our things and our very beings will be respected as well. This is what the 7th and the 10th commandments are all about. A broader understanding. We sometimes tend to limit our understanding of stealing to the act of just taking an object that belongs to someone else. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, however, offers a much broader understanding of what it means to violate the 7th commandment by including the following examples: work done poorly, tax evasion, forgery of checks and invoices, excessive expenses and waste, damaging property, and paying unjust wages. And they ask the question there at the bottom for us to ponder: how can copying a friend's homework, even with his or her permission, be a violation of the 7th commandment? Well, copying someone else's answers, that is in essence stealing. You are stealing their thoughts, their answers. And it's clearly not showing respect for the other person's work. Think of a time when you were the victim of theft, vandalism, or stinginess. How did you feel? It doesn't feel good when your things are taken. You might remember when you were in 6th grade, there are complaints every year from 6th graders when we share the desks. Someone used my pen, someone took my eraser, someone destroyed something in my desk. We don't like that feeling when our things are messed with, and you might remember that from 6th grade. When you really care about others and see Christ in them, you want to keep them from the pain of being victims of injustice. The 7th and 10th commandments challenge us to work for justice. All people possess the God-given human rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everyone has the right to food, clothing, shelter, and the opportunity to work and share in the goods of the earth. The good of the human person should be the purpose of every social organization. Only when each person's rights are respected does the virtue of justice exist among people. Sometimes people's vision becomes distorted. They see possessions as being all important. Greed blinds them to the dignity of every human being. They no longer recognize the rights of others. And then there is injustice. As Catholics, we are to do what we can to promote justice. What is justice? Justice is simply making sure that everyone's rights are respected. And injustice, it often occurs when people are greedy and they don't recognize that other people have rights as well. The role of the state. The role of political authority is to defend and promote the common good. The common good means social conditions that allow people to reach their fulfillment more fully and more easily. Society should promote virtue and justice. It should eliminate sinful inequalities that should not exist because all people have equal dignity, equal specialness. Nations should work together for the common good of the whole human family. Being a person of integrity. Cecilio Rodriguez, a city waste collector, once had an extraordinary truckload of trash. As the truck was being dumped, he found more than $11,500 in an old brown shoe. Immediately, he had visions of Hawaii and a fancy car. But he knew that the treasure had come from the home of the Boltons, a couple in their 70s. Instead of pocketing the money, Mr. Rodriguez did what he knew what was right and turned it in. For his selfless act, Mr. Rodriguez received the Citizen of the Month award. How easy would it have been for him to just pocket that money? Finders keepers, losers weepers, it's all mine. Greed could have easily taken over here. Luckily, this man is an example of acting with integrity, doing the right thing. Mr. Rodriguez had integrity. Integrity is righteousness. It comes from the word integer, that's a math term, which means whole. An integer in math is a whole number. People of integrity see the whole picture and live life accordingly. They are just. They have enough to live comfortably. They are content. If they have more than enough, they share. They do not envy others. They do not trample people's rights in order to have more for themselves. Various forms of stealing show no respect for others or their property. When people do steal, they must restore their integrity by making restitution. This means to replace what was taken or to repair what was damaged. Restitution is made to the victims or their heirs. And if that is impossible, the cash value can be given to a worthy cause. Making things right. It is only by the grace of God and the mercy of God that we are forgiven for our sins. We cannot do anything to earn God's forgiveness. At the same time, once we have allowed God's mercy into our lives, we are called to perform acts of penance, to restore that which has been harmed by our sin. Performing acts of penance is a way of taking responsibility for a wrong that we have done and reestablishing the balance and harmony broken by sin. After confessing our sins to a priest in the sacrament of reconciliation, we are assigned acts of penance through which we make amends for the wrongs we have done. This act of penance brings about satisfaction for sins committed. This is the end of part 1. Thanks for listening.